Hello everyone and welcome back to Almost There, a Twisted Tale novel. I am your host Zach and welcome to another episode of this audiobook session. If you have missed any, please be sure to check out the playlist down in the description down below. And we're on chapter 13 today, so let's get into it. Excitement surged through Naveen's veins, his euphoria building with every song the crawfish crooners played. His obsession with jazz music was one of the things that had first drawn him to New Orleans, but never had imagined he would get the chance to play with a live band. He felt like a real musician, not just somebody with a hobby. He could get used to this. Naveen peered out of the crowd from his perch on the raised dais, hoping to spot Tiana. He had noticed her sticking her head out of the kitchen door a few minutes ago, but it appeared she had not followed Charlotte out of the dining room. Disappointment and exasperation weared within him as he recalled the abject horror that raced across his face when he offered to step in for the injured trumpet player. It wasn't if he suggested he'd take over cooking duties in her kitchen. That would be a disaster. But he knew his way around a trumpet, and he'd practiced enough of the American jazz standards to blend right in with the crawfish crooners. Navina hoped Tiana would be grateful that he'd offered to help, or at the very least that she would be relieved the band would be able to play through the second dinner rush, even though they were down 2 members. Alas, it would appear that no smiles of appreciation were anywhere in his future. Not from Tiana. If only he could understand why she hated him so. Well, that was not fair. He did not know if Tiana hated him. He did not know how she felt about him at all. Every time he came near her, she scurried away like a frightened little church mouse. Her behaviour was peculiar, and frustrating, and confusing. At first, he thought Tiana was just shy. He would visit that diner where she had worked as a waitress just to see her. Of course, he could not let her know that was why he frequented it, so he'd order beignets. He ate so many of those luscious fried donuts during his first few months in New Orleans that his trousers started to get tight at the waist. Once he and Charlotte became friends, his encounters with Tiana also became more frequent. Naveen waited impatiently for her to warm up to him, but when she remained skittish, he figured that was just her nature. Then after she opened her restaurant, he observed how vibrant she was with all the other guests. That was when Naveen realized that Tiana's timidity seemed to be reserved only for him. She constantly turned away from him, almost in a rebuff. He couldn't understand it. Had he done something to her? He tried to tell himself that it didn't matter, but that would be a lie. He spent much of his spare time playing jazz music or learning more about the sugar industry, but when he was not doing either of those, he was trying to solve the mystery of the beautiful Tiana. Louis held his hand up, indicating that this would be their final song of the night, which meant his experience as a real musician was coming to a close. If he managed to clear his mind, he wanted to soak in the last drops of this remarkable feeling. The song ended, and the crowd erupted in applause. It was exhilarating. Seeing the joy in everyone's faces, knowing he'd entertained them with his music, he sent a rush of pride and gratitude galloping through his bloodstream. If only Tiana had been out in the dining room to see it. "Hey man, you should be on top of the world after that performance," Louis said. "Why are you looking so down and out?" Naveen glanced over to find Louis smiling at him, his toothy grin a mile wide. He'd been so caught up in his thoughts of Tiana that Naveen hadn't realised he was frowning. "I'm not," Naveen assured him. "This was great. I was just thinking. Or maybe you should stop thinking about whatever it is that put that frown on your face," Louis said as he slapped a broad palm on Naveen's shoulder. "Not if it makes you this sad." That was the problem. He couldn't stop thinking about Tiana. "I'm not sad," Naveen said. He covered Louis's hand. "Thanks for letting me play with the guys, eh? This was like, what do they say? Like a dream come true." "Oh man, any time," Louis said. "In fact, you should think about joining the band. We could always use a new guy on the trumpet." "It'll be like old times," Naveen said automatically. Louis's eyes widened. "What did you say?" Like old times," Naveen said. He frowned. "Wait, have we done this before? Played music together, I mean." I, I don't think so," Louis said. "I could have sworn." Naveen shook his head, wondering what had got into him. "Anyway, thank you for the invitation, but things are getting pretty busy down at the sugar mill." He clapped Louis on the shoulder. "This was fun, my friend." Naveen started to think of Louis as a friend in the years since he'd arrived on the shores of America. Despite his extremely big teeth and the skin condition that required him to constantly rub lanolin onto his skin, Louis was approachable and always had a raised smile. Naveen was grateful for him. He was grateful for all of the friends he'd made since moving to New Orleans. More and more, Naveen was coming to realise that travelling to this country was the best decision he'd ever made. He's meeting new people and working hard. If one could call persuading restaurants and shops to partner with LaBeouf Sugars hard work, for a guy like him, it came naturally. But what else could he do with his life? Naveen considered Louis' invitation to join in with the Crawfish Crooners. If he could spend the rest of his days playing jazz music with his friends, he would die a happy man. Well, maybe not completely happy. Convincing Tiana that she did not have to run away whenever he was near her would be nice. She and Louis were good friends. Maybe he could ask Louis to put in a good word for him. Naveen's back went ramrod straight. Aki Danza! Why hadn't he thought of this before? He swiftly climbed down from the stage and went into search of Tiana's other friend. Her best friend, Charlotte. He spotted her sitting at the table Mr. LaBeouf always occupied when he dined at the supper club towards the rear of the dining room. Given the look on Charlotte's face, the fellow sitting next to her was the one she'd hoped to avoid. Maybe if he rescued her from this conversation she obviously did not want to be a part of, she would return the favour. Hello, gentlemen. Naveen greeted the table at large. Mr. LaBeouf, I wonder if I could speak to Charlotte for... Oh, yes, Charlotte yelled. She pushed back from the table so quickly that her chair landed on the floor behind her. I don't mean to be rude, but now Naveen is done filling in for that trumpet player with the busted lip, we can go back to our date. She gripped his arm like a vice and pinched him. Yes, Naveen yelped. Yes, let us continue our date. Oh, thank goodness. Charlotte released a relieved sigh as they quickly made their way back towards their table near the stage. I swear, if I had to listen to Ruby Dubois talk about his bunions a second longer, I may have murdered him. Heavens to Betsy, that man is irritating. Naveen's forehead wrinkled. Who is Betsy? I don't know, it's just something people say around here. She waved him off. Now what is it you wanted? Or did you come over because you could see on my face that I was ready to commit a felony? Both, actually, Naveen said. He pulled out the chair at the table and waited until she sat before taking a seat himself. He scooted his chairs closer to her and, in a lowered voice, said, I need you to put in a good word for me with Tiana. Charlotte's head jerked back. The suspicion in her eyes caused Naveen to squirm like a bug under a microscope. But then a cagey smile drew across her lips. I knew you had desires for Tia. Charlotte mused at this as she pointed a finger at him. I could sense something happening between you two. She held up her hands. But before you get your hopes up, I can already tell you what exactly Tiana will say. She'll say that she's too busy and doesn't have time for romantic foolishness. But, now usually I would disagree with that sentiment, because I believe there is nothing more important than love. However, I've known Tia a long time, and I know how hard she's worked for this restaurant. I don't want anything to distract her either. I don't want to be a distraction, Of course, that girl really does need to loosen up a bit. I just want to get to know her better. Naveen rushed out before she could interrupt him again. That is all, Charlotte. He hunched his shoulders. I'm not sure why, but Tiana does not seem to like me very much. Maybe if you tell her I'm not such a bad guy, she won't run away when she sees me, eh? Charlotte tipped her head to the side. After several moments ticked by, she pointed at Naveen and said, Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll tell Tia that you're madly in love with her. No, Naveen said. Charlotte slapped him on the arm. I'm only teasing, Naveen. Lighten up. I know what I'm doing here, she said. I will casually mention how interesting you are. She snapped her fingers. Quick, give me something interesting about you. I have been learning to juggle. I'll make something up. Besides, I'm hoping to drag her to some Mardi Gras balls and she'll need a date. She narrowed eyes at Naveen once more. But you better not make me regret it. Tiana's my best friend and I will not see her hurt. Naveen shook his head. No way. I would never hurt her. His pulse quickened at the thought of accompanying Tiana to a ball, seeing her all dolled up in a beautiful gown. He could see her now. Actually, he could see her. Naveen squinted in confusion. Had he seen her in her ball gown already? Of course. We'll have to work our way up to the Mardi Gras ball. I think we'll need to start slow, like asking her out for coffee tomorrow. Charlotte's eyes brightened as she looked over Naveen's shoulder. Here's your chance. Naveen whipped round. China had just stepped out of the kitchen. She carried a tray laden with dishes on her shoulder, probably beignets or bread pudding. Both were hot-ticket items when it came to dessert at T&J's Supper Club. You ready, sugar? Charlotte asked. He stopped and took a breath. Before he could nod, Charlotte grabbed him by the hand and jerked him from his seat. Come on, Operation Make a Match with my two best friends is on. There we have it. That is chapter 13. Naveen is ready to make the move, if you know what I mean. He's ready to mingle. He's ready to get Tiana on his side. super exciting stuff. I hope, I don't know what's going to happen. I want it to happen. I do. I mean, obviously, you want it all to be a happy ending, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me here today. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will catch you on in the next one. Till then, much love. Peace.